Okay. So we are live now, and once again, thanks everyone for joining in. I think on Saturdays, if people are joining, that gives me immense pleasure. That you all have slowly started detaching yourself from all the illusions and allurements of Maya, and basically you all are on the right track. Okay, so today we will start reading. Like I have given ample introduction. In the previous sections, we can anyone summarize what we read about or what we studied in the last session? Anyone?
About Prakriti and
Yes,
the three types of energies.
correct. Yeah, so that was the main purpose of. So Prakriti is one of the core topics, which Bhagavad Gita deals. Bhagavad Gita actually deals with five topics. Ishvara, the controller; Jiva, the controlled. Then there is Prakriti, which is the material nature. In Bhagavad Gita, we'll speak more about the material nature, right? Because the whole focus is on how to get past this material contamination. Okay, so the we had studied that there are three types of Prakriti: the superior or the spiritual energy, then there is inferior or the material energy, and then there is a marginal energy, right? So we'll more some discuss more stress will be laid on this material energy and how to get across that. And then there is Kal means that eternal time. And then there is karma, okay, the actions that we perform here and how they impact our next life and all those things. So this is all, like we have had like lot of formal introduction about Prakriti and how many types are there, and uh, basically who we are. We have seen that there is only one enjoyer, right? Krishna is the only enjoyer, he's the only Purusha, and rest everything is Prakriti. Okay, so all these things like have been discussed. So we'll start reading today. We'll read little more about what is Prakriti, and then we'll see who is the controller or Ishvara, and what is the position of the Jivas, and all these things will come in the introduction. Okay, and we will see some very beautiful analogies which Srila Prabhupada has derived in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. So we always repeatedly say that a person who reads the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita very sincerely, they can become very good preachers of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So please start doing that. These sessions, I'll just like we will do a quick summary. Although we are reading it, and maybe to save time, I can also go to the presentation mode in the next session, and finish off the introduction. But I would request that all of you to please read, this introduction line by line, word by word. So that will help you a lot to understand the Bhagavad Gita. So, as usual, before starting the session, I'll dedicate this session to our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Whatever I am going to speak, it will be for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. I'll merely repeat what I have learned in the lectures of Srila Prabhupada. I'll merely repeat what I have read in the books of Srila Prabhupada. And I'll merely repeat what I have learned from my Siksha Gurus and the Guru Parampara of ISKCON. So agenda for today will be Mangalacharan. Then we will go with the Bhagavad Gita introduction, page 8 to 12. We will try to cover. If time permits, we will cover more, but I think we are already over time a little bit. So I think 8 to 12 we will try to cover. And then in the end, we will have some question and answers. And what are we dealing with today? So more about material nature or Prakriti. We'll read something. Okay. Then Ishvara and Jiva, then karma, and the consciousness and supreme consciousness. So these will be the core topics for today. Before we proceed, I would like to ask, like, how many of you are in front of a screen which is, like kind of comfortable for you to read, either a big screen or maybe a laptop? Okay, Sunil Prabhu is there. Anyone else? Okay, Ishita Mataji is there. Very nice. Ivana Mataji is also there. Very good. Okay, right. So we have some readers here. So we will continue. Okay, in that way. Okay. Mm, yes. So this was for today. I will bring up the page. Yes. So we'll start reading. We'll start reading from this paragraph, material nature itself. So who can read? Ishita Mataji. We'll start with in alphabetical order. So Ishita Mataji, you can start reading.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it says material nature itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is eternal time by a combination of those modes of nature, and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I'm a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance, then I am an enjoyer. But then, say I have lost all my money in the business, then I'm a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work or we suffer the results. Now, this is called karma.
Yes, please continue, Mataji.
Sure. Ishvara, the supreme Lord; Jiva, the living entity; Prakriti, nature; Kala, the
Kal,
eternal time.
Kal.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no
Kal,
problem, Mataji.
the eternal time; and Karma, activity, are all explained in Bhagavad Gita. Out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and the time are eternal. Okay. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false, but according to philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real, but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season, which nourishes grains. That's so nicely written. As soon as the
Yeah,
rainy season is over, as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, say, stays for a while, and then disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. The material nature is separated energy of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord. Although they are not separated by eternally related, so the Lord, the living entity, the material nature, and time are all interrelated and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of activities from time immemorial. But we can change the results of our karma or our activity, and change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in the
yeah.
Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, that should be fine, Mataji. So, yeah, as you have very nicely appreciated that this is how Srila Prabhupada explains. So, he is the best preacher, basically, right? And very nicely, he has explained that out of the five subject matters which the Bhagavad Gita deals with, which is the Ishvara or the Lord, then Jiva or the living entity, Prakriti, the material nature, Kal, the eternal time, and Karma, the activity. Out of this, the first four, okay, the Supreme Lord, living entity, material nature, and eternal time, these are, like eternal, okay, and they are there since time immemorial, right? But karma is something which is actually varying. Okay, so a lot of times questions are asked basically, for especially the new people who come to ISKCON, that if everything is pre-decided in life, okay, then why should we perform bhakti, right? So here is the answer. We will see in much more detail when we read the Bhagavad Gita that everything is not pre-decided. Okay, whatever we are doing here, if we are enjoying or if we are suffering, okay, that is not destiny. That is actually the resultants of our good karma and bad karma. Okay, so first of all, nothing is basically coincidental or nothing is pre-decided as such. I mean, some things are pre-decided, but the junction points in the life, at many almost every day in your life, you reach a particular junction point, whether to do this or whether to do that, right? Those things are not decided. Till that junction point, you have that free will to take a call, okay? And based on what call you take, your further karma is decided, and the subsequently the future is decided, whether you will suffer for a bad karma or whether you will suffer for the good karma, right? So in that sense, karma is not eternal, okay? It keeps on changing from time to time, and then we are constantly suffering or enjoying the results of our karma, okay? It's a very deep topic. Basically, karma actually, like we can take a separate session on that, but let's start first the introduction, and then we'll, if time permits, someday I can take a session on karma also. Okay, so yeah, very nicely explained. I think yeah, this was the main crux of this whole thing. And yeah, everything else, as Prabhupada mentions here, is basically constant, right? I mean, eternal, not constant, it's just eternal. And then we will go with Ivana Mataji. You can start reading from here, the next two paragraphs.
Okay, Prabhuji. The possession of the Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas are living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord who are also conscious, are supremely conscious. The distinction between jiva and Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Prabhuji, how do you pronounce that? The
Yeah, just a second. Actually, I lost you in between, Mataji. Can you tell me where you are right now?
the paragraph, the distinction between the jiva and Ishvara. Yeah, the first word there in the second line.
Okay.
Yeah, the Lord is
Yeah.
what? How do you pronounce that?
Hmm.
The
Ishwar.
next line.
Yeah. The next line. The Lord is Kshetragya. Kshetragya means one who is the knower of the field. So this body is known as a Kshetra, and Kshetragya means knower of the field. So in the
Okay.
13th chapter, we will see that this whole body, like in the body, there are two souls present. One is us, the spirit soul, and other is the super soul, okay, or the Krishna in the Paramatma Sarup. Okay, so we both are Kshetragyas because the soul also knows the body, basically the body in which it is residing, but and the super soul also is fully aware of the body, okay. But the difference between us and the super soul or Paramatma is that super soul is aware of all the bodies of all the living entities, correct? Because he is the supreme lord, but we are only aware of our own body, okay. So that is known as Kshetragya, knower of the
Okay.
field. Yeah.
Conscious as the living being, but the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas Lord is conscious of all bodies. Because he lives in the heart of every living being, he is conscious of the psychic moments of a particular jiva. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes the determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the actions and reactions of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body. As we take off and put on clothes. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and the reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, insanity, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of his past activities can be changed. Karma is not eternal. Therefore, we started at the five terms Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and Karma. Four are eternal, whereas Karma is not eternal.
Eternal. Okay. Yeah, that should be enough, Mataji. So, okay. So one very important thing, to understand here is basically, see, these are all very, technical things which have been, explained in much detail in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Um, like even I'm wondering how will I, explain that. But yeah, let's see. With Krishna's mercy and Srila Prabhupada's mercy, I hope I should be able to pull that off. But yeah, it is one of the most, tricky or like a chapter which is little difficult to understand. Okay, difficult to comprehend. You need some guidance. And the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, because it speaks a lot about the soul, spirit soul, and how the spirit soul is basically completely aloof from this, this body, and but still, it is entangled in this cycle of action and reaction, good karma and bad karma. So basically, the one thing to understand is that a spirit soul in itself doesn't do anything. Okay, so the question may arise that, okay, if the soul or if I am not doing anything, then why am I held responsible for my karma? The answer is that the spirit soul actually desires. Okay, and everything starts from that particular desire. Okay, for example, I have a desire to drink some wine. Okay, so this the desire is there within this spirit soul. Okay, the spirit soul actually makes the desire, and what happens after that is something very complex. If we have sufficient pious credits, coming from our previous lives, then the Paramatma sitting in our hearts just scans through that and sees that, okay, this fellow has a lot of pious credit. So I think, they, so the pious credits or punya karma are just like credit cards, basically, right? So if you have balance in the credit card, you can go and buy anything. Okay. So similarly, Paramatma in the heart actually he scans through it and just sees that, okay, this fellow has a lot of pious credits. So let uh, him enjoy. If he wants to drink some wine, let him do that. Right. So he gives the approval that, okay, you can go and enjoy. And then once that approval is there, then we make use of this body. I go to the wine shop, I purchase the wine, I drink it, and then, but drinking of wine is actually not good karma, right? It has been forbidden in the scriptures. So the resultant reaction will come to me, okay, as a bad karma, and then I'll have to suffer for that in near future. Okay, so this is how this complex cycle is. As I said, that it's much more complex. We can have a separate session on this, but this was just to give an introduction that how everything works actually. Okay, so everything, like, since all of you are into this spiritual path now, so now that you know, okay, that everything is being scrutinized by the super soul or the Paramatma who is situated in our heart. He is the witness to, all of our activities. So now, from now onwards, just make sure that, be very cognizant of what you are doing, what you are saying, what you are eating, okay, how you are behaving with others, all these things. Because each and everything actually counts. And at the end of the day, you will be either punished or rewarded for your own activities. We all will be held responsible. Why? Because everything starts with a desire, the desire of the of the spirit soul. Okay, so this is something which is very, very important to understand. So just keep that in mind. If you have a notebook with you, please take a note of it. Okay, next we'll go with Sunil Prabhu. You can read from here the next two paragraphs.
The Supreme Conscious Ishwar is similar to the living entity in two ways. Both the consciousness of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not the consciousness in general by the association of matter. That is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness may be pervertedly reflected by the covering of material circumstances, just as light reflected through colored glass may appear to be in certain color, but the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Maya Dyakishan
मया दक्षेण प्रकृति.
Maya Dakshina Prakriti.
मया दक्षेण प्रकृति.
When he descends into the material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on the transcendental matters as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental word without being free from the material contamination consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have to purify this material contaminated consciousness. In the pure consciousness, our actions will be devoted to the will of the Ishwar, and that will make us
Dovetailed.
happy. Sorry for that. That will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified, and the purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. An ignorant person may see that devotees is acting and working like an ordinary man. Such a person will be a poor fund of knowledge. With a poor fund of knowledge, does not know that the activities of a devotees or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. These are transcendental, and these three modes of nature, transcendental to the three modes of nature. We should know, however, that at this point our consciousness is contaminated.
So very important point actually here, right? That bhakti. Okay, what is bhakti? Prabhupada has explained very nicely. Okay, that all we need to do is to purify our material contamination. Okay, and how can it be done? Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Attending the Sunday feasts, just participating in the Guru Puja or the Mangal Aarti, dancing very nicely in front of the deities. So basically, all our actions should be dovetailed in the service of Krishna, right? That will actually what it will do. It will just cut away all our reactions, whether good reactions or bad reactions of our karma. They will all be removed. Okay. So if we are a very good painter, for example, okay, then okay, fine, paint for yourself, make some money out of it, but then also try to find some time to make some paintings of Krishna as well and try to donate them, to the temple. Okay, in that way you are dovetailing your activity in the service of Krishna. If you are a very good dancer, then dance to some nice bhajans of Krishna, that way we dance in the temple, right? So that is one way of dovetailing one activity. Okay, someone is a very good singer, fine, go sing the Bollywood songs, but then sing some bhajans of Krishna as well. Okay, so in that way you can dovetail all the activities for Krishna. And very nicely Prabhupada says that these activities may, to a common man, they seemingly appear very, mundane activities, just like any others. For example, we are singing, we are dancing, we are having prasadam at the temple. Those are all, every person does that, right? What is the difference between someone who is partying in a club or in a pub, right? And having a party there, and we are also doing the same thing, right? We are having Krishna Prasad, we are having a maybe association of devotees, and we are doing, but it's very different actually, right? Because everything is happening with a pure consciousness and it is being done for Krishna, right? Compared to someone who is dancing in a pub or drinking some wine there, having illicit association of opposite gender and all those things. Okay, so these two are very different things. Similarly, when a person, if you see that okay, a devotee might be dealing with the contractors to get some raw materials to build a temple, right? And then similarly, if we are trying to build our own home, or if we are trying to purchase a flat, at that time also some dealings are done with to get the raw materials, procurement of raw materials and all those things. But these two are very different activities, although the actions are same, right? We are dealing with the contractors, we are purchasing the raw materials, but a devotee who is doing that to construct a temple for Krishna is basically, that activity is very much purified, right? And he is not entangled in the good karma and bad karma, associated with that particular dealing. Okay, but that is not the case with an ordinary man who is trying to build his or her own house, basically. Okay, so this is what bhakti is basically, dovetailing each and every single activity in the service of Krishna. And it's very simple. We just need to apply our mind. Okay, if our consciousness is such that, okay, what can I do for Krishna so that he becomes happy? Okay, with this activity, you'll. There are ways, basically, right? Some examples I've cited. Right, if you are a painter, then or any artist for that matter, dedicate some time for Krishna. Okay, similarly, the way we are utilizing, see, this technology, basically, right? The Zoom platform is basically a technology, right? So what we are doing, we are dovetailing it in the service of Sri Krishna. Similarly, when Prabhupada was there, then there was no internet at that time, but then there was a dictaphone. So what he used to do, he used to dictate, he used to read Srimad Bhagavatam or some other scriptures, and then he used to translate in English. And that dictaphone, what it did, he actually it actually recorded that the translation of Prabhupada's voice, Prabhupada's lectures are there, right? So in that way, he dovetailed the technology at that time in the service of Krishna. Okay, so these are some ways in which we can dovetail our all our activities, and once it will be purified, our actions will be purified. All our good karma and bad karma both will be burnt away instantly. We'll be left with no baggage. So in the end, when we quit our body, because there is no baggage, there will be no repeated birth here in this material world. We'll simply go back home, back to Krishna. So this is the whole concept of the Bhagavad Gita. How to get rid of all your material baggage, all your material contamination. Okay, so I'll continue reading this paragraph, and we'll see after that. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. Why? Because we are living in the conditioned world. We are living according to the laws of material nature. Okay, so we are conditioned to the laws, okay, of this material nature. For example, the law of gravity is there, that gravity is there on this planet, and we walk. Suppose if suddenly we start floating, then it will be very difficult for us to comprehend that how is this possible. Correct. So on every so material nature has different it exhibits different properties on in different planetary systems. So every living entity has this body, and with this body they are conditioned, actually. Okay, then false consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am the product of material nature. This is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of bodily conceptions does not understand his situation. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to liberate one from bodily conception of life, and Arjun put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life. That is preliminary activity for a transcendentalist. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. So, this is what we learned in the first session. We are not the body, we are the spirit soul. And with practice and detachment, actually, slowly, what will happen? That we will actually start implementing this in our real life. Okay, we'll start seeing the things the way they are. Okay? Right now, we are all conditioned. We are all illusioned by Maya, and there is a big curtain of Maya actually hanging in front of us. So we are not able to see the things the way they are. Right? But with gradual practice and detachment, it actually happens. So mukti or liberation means freedom from material consciousness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, the definition of liberation is given. Muktir hitvan yatha rupam sarva rupena vyavasthiti. Mukti means liberation from contaminated consciousness of this material world and situation in pure consciousness. All the instructions in the Bhagavad Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness, and therefore we find the last stage of Gita's instructions that Krishna is asking Arjun whether he is now purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with instructions of the Lord. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there, but because we are part and parcel of Lord, but uh, consciousness is already there because we are part and parcel of the Lord, but for us there is an affinity of being affected by the inferior modes. But the Lord, being the supreme, is never affected. That is the difference between Supreme Lord and the small individual souls. So I think, yeah, this is pretty clear. I would request all of you to please note down if you have any questions. We'll take all the questions towards the end of the session. Okay. So, anyone else would like to read? If not, then I'll go to Ishita Mataji again. But anyone else? I see Vasavi Mataji is there, Bhashpati Mataji is there. Okay, Shyam Sundar, Sri Devi Mataji. Okay. Sure, Mataji, please go ahead. So what we will, you start from here, consciousness.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
What is consciousness? This consciousness is I am. Then what am I? In contained consciousness, I am means I am Lord of all I survey. I am enjoyer. The world revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of the material world. Material consciousness has two psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, and other is that I am the enjoyer. But actually, the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer. And the living entity being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord is neither the creator nor the enjoyer, but a cooperator. He is the created and the enjoyed. For instance, a part of a machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of the body cooperates. Sorry, I must have
Yeah, it's okay,
explained
Mataji.
the
Yeah.
same. Okay.
Hmm.
The hands, legs, eyes, and so on are all parts of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs move. The hands supply food. The teeth chew, and all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given into the stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering its root, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For it, the body is to kept in healthy state, then the parts of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach uh, Similarly, the Supreme Lord, the Enjoyer and the Creator, we as subordinate living beings are meant to cooperate to satisfy Him. This cooperation will actually help us, just as food taken by the stomach will help all other parts of the body. If the fingers of the hand think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the stomach, then they will be frustrated. The central figure of the creation and of the enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, and the living entities are cooperators. By cooperation, they enjoy. The relation is also like that of the master and the servant. If master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. Similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied, although the tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material world are there also in the living entities, because these tendencies are there in the Supreme Lord who has created the manifested cosmic world.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, so again, very nicely explained. So many beautiful analogies Srila Prabhupada actually cites, right? And one very important fact, like he has put forward, is that if we water the root of the plant or we just supply food to the stomach, the whole body is nourished. Okay, so for my hand to be nourished properly, or in order to my legs to be nourished properly, what we need to do, we need to supply food to the stomach, right? Now if the hand thinks that, okay, I will not supply food to the stomach, then what will happen? I mean, the whole body will actually suffer for that, including the hand, right? If this thumb of my hand decides that, okay, I want to detach myself from the body, I don't want to stay in this body, what's going to happen? After 2 or 3 days, maybe 5 days, this thumb will wither away and it will die, right? And this body, on the other hand, will always miss the presence of this thumb, okay, as long as it is there. Okay, that exactly is the case with us, actually. Okay, we are part and parcels of Krishna, so our Jiver Swarup hoy Krishner Nityadas. Okay, we are the eternal loving servants of Krishna. We are the cooperators, as what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. So Krishna will perform his pastime, will simply play the role of supporting characters in that pastime, and in that way, we will also enjoy that nectar. We will also enjoy that pastime. Okay. One another very nice example which comes in my mind is that suppose there is a driver. Okay. Maybe he's a driver of a say very rich businessman or someone. Okay, and say businessman enters into the car and says that, okay yaar, chalo, I have to go at this place, and it's a very hot day, so he just enters into the car and asks the driver to switch on the AC, okay, and play some nice music in the car. So what will happen? Like, the driver, what he does is that he simply follows the orders of the master, right? He just switches on the AC and then plugs in the nice music. So now just see what happens. The driver is doing this for the satisfaction of the master, okay? But when the AC starts running, it will provide the same comfort to the driver as well, right? On a hot day, correct? AC will not discriminate that, okay, no, I am only supposed to, provide a good, comfortable environment to the master, and you are a driver, so I'll not do that to you. No, right? It's not like that. Okay. Similarly, a good music which is playing in the car will soothe the mind of the driver as well. Okay. So, in the same way, if we simply try to satisfy Krishna, we all will also be satisfied. Our senses will also be satisfied. Okay. Everything else will fall into place. And this is a tried and tested, methodology. This is a tried and tested process which Prabhupada has given us. All we need to do is to simply follow it as it is. Okay. As he mentions. So, moving on. Okay, so these two are, I think these are short paragraphs. So Ishita Mataji, you can read these two paragraphs. Okay, I think Ishita Mataji has left. Okay, Ivana Mataji, would you like to read the two paragraphs?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yep.
We shall find, therefore, in this Bhagavad Gita that the complete whole is comprised of the Supreme Controller. We control living entities, the cosmic manifestations, eternal time, and karma, their activities, and all of these are explained in this text. All of these, taken completely, form the complete whole, and the complete whole is called the Supreme Absolute Truth. The complete whole and the complete absolute truth are the complete personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. All manifestations are due to his different energies. He is the complete whole. It is also explained in the Gita that the impersonal Brahman, who is also the subordinate to the Supreme Person, Brahmano hi Varishtham.
Sutishtham.
Brahman is more explicitly explained in the Brahman Sutra to be like the rays of the sunshine. The impersonal Brahman, the shining rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman is incomplete realization of the absolute whole, and so also is the conception of Paramatma. In the 15th chapter, it shall be seen that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottam, is above both impersonal Brahman and the partial realization of Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Satchit Ananda Vigraha. The Brahman Samhita begins in this way. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sanchit Ananda Vigraha.
Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakaran Karanam.
Govinda, Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause and he is the very form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Impersonal Brahman realization is the realization of his Sat eternity feature. Paramatma realization is the realization of Sanchit
Satchit.
Satchit eternal knowledge. But realization of the personality of Godhead Krishna is the realization of all the transcendental features. Satchit and the Ananda, eternity, knowledge, in complete Vigraha form.
Okay, thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, so I think here the form of Krishna is, given very nicely. That is Satchidananda Vigraha. So there are a lot of people who say that, okay, this is, the Supreme is impersonal. Okay, so they worship the impersonal Brahman, or the Brahma Jyoti form of Krishna. Okay, so but we need to understand that, the scriptures are full with descriptions where, it is clearly explained that Krishna has a form. Okay, and the best in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna confirms. We'll see there are a lot of shlokas where he's confirming this. But the Brahma Samhita, where Lord Brahma is saying Okay, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. He is a Satchidanand body. No, he has a form, which is Vigraha. And that is Satchidanand. That means it is full of knowledge and pure bliss. Okay. And Anadir Adir Govinda, he has no beginning nor end, and is Sarv Karan Karanam. He is the eternal cause of all causes. Right. So this is known as, so this is the form of Krishna. So the Brahma Jyoti is basically the effulgence, personal effulgence of Krishna. Actually, that, which enlights the entire Vaikuntha Loka. Okay. All the planets, Vaikuntha planets. We have seen that the spiritual world is perpetually enlightened. Okay. There is no darkness in the spiritual world. So that is because Krishna himself is present there, and the effulgence of Krishna or the Brahma Jyoti is actually enlightening the entire spiritual world basically. Okay, so this was about Krishna's form. Then we'll just take one more paragraph, and then I'll start. I'll just open the stage for questions. The complete whole, the personality of Godhead, has immense potencies. Prayasa Shaktir Vividheva Suryate. How Krishna is acting in different potencies is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. This phenomenal world or the material world in which we are placed is so complete in itself because the 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation, according to Sankhya philosophy, are completely adjusted to produce complete resources which are necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of this universe. There is nothing extraneous, nor there is anything necessary, nor there is anything needed. This manifestation has its own time fixed by energy of the supreme whole. And then when this time is complete, these temporary manifestations will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete. There is complete facility for all small complete units, namely living entities, to realize the complete, and all sorts of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete. So Bhagavad Gita contains the complete knowledge of the Vedic wisdom. Okay. So what this particular paragraph says is that Krishna is complete. Okay, and everything pertaining to Krishna is also complete. Okay, this material universe actually comes into existence like it is first non-existent, then it comes into existence, stays there for a while, and then it is again annihilated. Once the time is over. Okay, but during this small time where this material nature is manifest, right? All the living entities are put into this material nature, and they have been given a complete arrangement to realize the complete. That means to realize Krishna basically. Okay, especially in this human form of life, right? This is very rare, and this is a wonderful opportunity to actually practice bhakti and to realize Krishna, and to come to terms with the full knowledge basically. Okay, so we should all I mean, we should not waste our lives basically, in all the mundane activities that we are doing in our day to day life. Okay, uh, the goal of this human life is to like to understand self realization, to know more about Krishna. Okay, athatu brahma jigyasa, right? That who am I, who is God, what is my relationship with God, all these questions we should try to answer. And yes, side by side you keep on doing whatever you do in your day to day life. It doesn't mean that you have to give up everything, leave your house, become a sannyasi. No, that is especially not recommended in the age of Kali Yuga, or until and unless you are a very determined person to do that, you should not be doing that. Okay, because Maya is way too strong. She will simply attract you back, and once you fall from that position, then it's considered very abominable actually. Okay, so yes, please continue. Like if you are a householder, continue to be a householder. Okay, there is no harm in being a householder. Raja Janak Maharaj, who was the father of Mother Sita, he was a householder. Parikshit Maharaj was a householder. Arjun himself, like to whom the Bhagavad Gita is being delivered, he himself was a householder. He was a Kshatriya, right? And what happened after he got the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita? He remained a Kshatriya, right? He didn't abandon anything and went to forest and immersed himself in deep meditation. No, he didn't do that, right? So keep doing all these things, no problems there, but find some time for these devotional services, devotional practices as well. Okay, spend some time in God realization as well. Okay, So with that, I would like to conclude today's session. If there are any questions, I would like to take them now. Maybe 15-20 minutes we have. So we would just or any realizations that something good that you liked in this session, something new that you understood. Okay, Sunil Prabhu has raised his hand. Prabhu, please go ahead. If possible, you can turn on your video, Prabhu, so that everyone can have your darshan.
Prabhuji, I have a question,
Yeah.
not for realization.
Hmm. Tell me.
In one of the examples, we saw that if a businessman is earning good, he's happy,
Hmm.
and if he's under losses, then he is unhappy.
Correct.
Yeah, but in our case, in our society, we see that though a businessman is earning, he's still unhappy. He has all those resources, but he's
Yes.
still unhappy.
Correct.
So, do we have that reference, or do we know why is that any
Yeah,
light on that?
correct. So I think this thing I explained in the very first session also, right? The main cause of our unhappiness is because we are not looking for happiness in the right place. Okay, we think that we will have a big house, so we'll be happy. We think that okay, we'll have a nice luxury car, then we will be happy. Similarly, we can have a very funky and very nice mobile phone in our hands, then we'll be happy. But the core concept that we need to understand, Prabhu, is that we all are spiritual beings. Okay, we all are spirit souls. We all are eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. But we are looking for happiness in the material things. Okay, so it can never satisfy us. Okay, the only thing that can satisfy us is Krishna. Okay, if we dovetail all our activities in the service of Krishna. Okay, if since we are spirit souls, we can gain happiness only when we serve the Supreme Spirit. Okay, who is the Krishna. Okay, we are eternal part and parcels of Krishna. So in that way, if we are dovetailing all our activities in the service of Krishna, then definitely we will be happy actually after that. So did I answer your question, Prabhu? We are just not looking for happiness in the right place. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I always cite this example, the example of a fish, basically. Yeah, right. You take a fish out of the water and then you place all sorts of luxury items around it. Okay, maybe a Lay's potato chips or maybe a bottle of Coke. Put it in a nice AC room. Will that fish be happy? No, it won't. Right? It will die. Why? Because it's a aquatic animal, right? I mean, it lives in the water, right? If you take it out of the water, it will die, right? So similar is our case. Basically, we are also spiritual beings. We do not belong in this material world. It's just like like that fish, we have been taken out of the water of the spiritual world and we have been put here. So no matter how much material opulence we attain in this material world, there will also always feel that emptiness or that voidness in our hearts. Basically, why? Because we are away from Krishna. We have not re-established that relationship with Krishna again. Okay, so the only way we can re-establish that relationship is by performing bhakti very nicely and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This will help us to break this cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and ultimately we'll go back home, back to Krishna, and stay there with him eternally. That is real happiness, basically. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions? Any realizations from today's session? Okay. If not, then Bhashwati Mataji, can you try to speak something? We'll see if we are able to hear you or not. Okay, I think she's also away. So that's fine. If there is nothing else to discuss, then we can close this session today. Thank you all so much. Like on a weekend. Okay, Sunil Prabhu has another question. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Prabhu, I just want to know, how do we read this Sanskrit shlokas? Can you help us guide? Because this is what we are not able to read
Yeah,
on
yeah,
English
definitely,
words.
definitely. The thing is actually, what? Even I struggle with this English part. Okay, if I I have to read Sanskrit in this English script, then even I struggle with that. But I have a very nice reference. Okay, it's basically reference from the Wikipedia. So what you see here, okay, like for example, there is a small matra on top of S. Okay, then you have a matra on top of U. Right. So how do you pronounce that? Okay, so like if you have a command over these things, okay, you know what this matra means actually in this English alphabets, then I think it will be much easier for you to comprehend this entire Sanskrit language. But yes, Sanskrit, like unfortunately, we have lost touch with Sanskrit. It is called as the language of the demigods, okay, or even the language of the gods, basically, right? Uh, so even in the higher planetary systems, the language which is spoken is Sanskrit. So we were very fortunate to be born in a land of India where all these things are there available for us, but sadly we have been losing touch with all of these. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I will circulate one nice Wikipedia reference where you will get all the ways to pronounce these matras, and this entire Sanskrit will be explained in English basically. Okay, so that I can do. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu, for highlighting this. I think a lot of people struggle with this shloka pronunciation, and it's very good that we try to get some expertise at least in reciting the shlokas. And let me tell you one thing, that Bhagavad Gita, like the shlokas, it contains around 700 shlokas. In the Bhagavad Gita there are 700 shlokas, and they are considered to be the easiest ones basically, right? Because it has been written in such a way that it is easily spoken or pronounced by the common people basically. Okay, so other scriptures, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, if you read, or any other scripture, Brahma Samhita, if you read, right? I mean, those are really tough ones actually. So yes, I'll just circulate this, and
Prabhuji, is
yeah.
there any place where they are written in Sanskrit I can read? Because if I look here, there's no Hindi
Yeah, so
translation
yeah, this is
database.
basically, even I feel that way, Prabhu. But since once we start the shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita, okay, so I'll just show you one reference. Let me show you. Once we start the shlokas, then I think you will get both of them. Okay, say for example, chapter 1. If I go to text 1, so first the Sanskrit is there. I mean, the Devanagari script is there, and then in English the same shloka is there, and then we'll see. Okay. But if the references, if you're reading the purport, then in the purport, I think if you have an English Bhagavad Gita, then everything will be in English. So for that, you will have to refer to the Hindi thing. But anyways, I think this should be good enough, right? I mean, this way,
Yes,
whatever we are comfortable. Yeah.
this should be good enough. At least we
Hmm.
can see in Hindi,
Correct.
maybe
Yeah.
we can see in Sanskrit.